Hello my dear friends, you're welcome to Netcode-Hub channel. This channel facilitates .NET lessons and projects. I am Frederick. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that, and also click on the notification icon to receive updates as soon as a new video drops. You can also like this video or buy me coffee to support this channel grow. I'll put the link in the description so you can check it over there. We have more information for you as well, and previous project links, they are under the description, so check it over there. Now today we're going to have a look on how to create JWT role-based authentication and authorization in .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid application. So we are focusing on the mobile app. Okay, now when we are done with this project, I'm going to leave it, or it's going to be available on GitHub. So I'll leave the description or the link to GitHub at the description as well, so you can also go in there and I'll clone that project. All right, so let's say I have made a sample project here, and that is what we're going to look up for to create our own. Now what I'm doing here, it is a portal application. All right, so it is a mobile portal, job portal mobile application. So I'm not done yet. Now when I'm done with that project, I'm going to make a video on it, and it will be available on the GitHub and also YouTube as well. So you can keep watching and I'll await this video. All right, so you can see here we are focusing on just the login and the registration. Okay, so not any. Now you can see that here, as soon as the person comes in, that is a home page, nothing displays. This is a normal page for everybody. If the person has not been authenticated and authorized with a specific role, you're going to see this with these buttons. Now, you can see as soon as I click on settings, I have this account settings, and I can now log in. So let's try to log in and see. So if I try to log into this account, I'm going to have to provide my email and password. Now, I have the first one as Fred at Gmail as a user. So this is the role is a user. So Fred at gmail.com, and I'll pass in the password here. So 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so let me click on the login. So let's wait for this. Okay, so this is the username going to be incorrect because we did not provide this at. Okay, so now let's try this again. Now this is going to come out with, okay, so you have an email address. Let's check it, the password. So 1 2 3 4 5, I think so. Try this. And now as we are authenticating, you can see that we have only 3 buttons here. And now with even another settings, we have only the account. So let's wait and see if you're going to be authenticated. I'm using our dev tunnel to test this API. Okay. Now you see we have our token here. This is our JWT token, and it comprises of the username, the user email, the user role as the user as well. So as soon as I click on OK, watch what happens over here. As soon as I am authenticated, since it is a job portal, then it has to reload and now add the ones that I can, or the user can see, and that is the post. So user can see the post under the tab. And also if I click on this settings, you can see I have a lot over here. I have the same account. I have a different tab as well that I can use as a drop down, and it's available for only authenticated users. And I can see we have the name to hi, then you have your name specified over here. Now you can see if you click on the account, login and registration, they are out because you're authenticated, so you're not going to use that anymore. You have a logout over here. You can also log out. Now you can see this is my company, and that is what you can see over here, and this is for only users, authenticated users or clients. All right, so let's see. When you log out and try to log in as an admin, let's see what happens. As soon as I click on log out, you can see it changes this, it reforms this, and you can see we have the post tab gone, and you can see we have login and create account. Now let's try to log in with an admin, and now let's see what's going to happen as soon as an admin tries to log in, or the features that the admin is going to have. Okay, so let's see. Login. So let's pass in an admin at gmail.com. And the password is 12345. Or let's see, let me change this password to string. Alright, so let's click on login, and now let's wait to see if the password is correct. We're gonna have our so admin at, let's check our database and see the email. Okay, so that's an admin. So let's capital. Alright, so login. Okay, so invalid email or password. So it means that the password is incorrect. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's try this too. Because the passwords are encrypted here, so I can't see the password, the real password. Alright, so that is the password. Now we see this also the admin token. Alright, now with this admin token, as soon as I click on okay, now you see it has to refresh the whole page and now assign the rows for the admin. You know, admin can see everything. So the page has to re-render and now give us the features that the admin can see. They also see the same 4 tabs down here. But if I click on settings, you can see I'm going to have manage client. So there's an admin. I just name it as from MAUI. So you can see admin can manage what client. And you can see we have also the same account settings. So if I click on this client, you can see we have a lot here. So admin can add users, admin can assign rows, admin can revoke client row, and admin can check the incoming applicants. All right, all these are going to come from the project. Okay, so we're not going to talk about this. This is just the authentication, authorization using the role-based JWT as well. All right, so this is what you want to do. So we've seen how to authenticate it, how to authorize the user, and display a specific columns or a specific information or buttons for the user when the user qualified with the role assigned to it. Okay, and that's what we're going to have a look today. All right, so I have made a video on creating a API with authentication. Okay, and we've also even done a video using the same Blazor. That's the job portal web application, and we did the same authentication. So we're going to implement this authentication inside the .NET Blazor MAUI Blazor Hybrid application. All right, so if you want to maybe I'm going to create one solution and do all this project again. If you want to skip that, check the timestamp over there. You can skip. If you have watched that video previously, you can just skip that. Okay, and now but if you haven't, you can just watch everything from head to toe, and you're going to grab the context of this. Thank you so much, and please subscribe as well. Now let's get going by creating a solution, adding a project, and start coding. So let's quickly create a blank solution. Then we add a new project. So file, new project. And now you can search for solution on top here. So solution, and you're going to have that. So that is this one. We choose this. Then the name of this solution, maybe let's give this solution to this. So there's a solution name for demo MAUI authentication, and this is a MAUI hybrid JWT authentication and authorization. Okay, so that is the solution, and click on create. So now you have the solution. That is a blank one. Let's go in there and right click and add the project. So new project. So first of all, we're going to work on the API. So click on this, and I'll come down here to choose the web API. You want to use the ASP.NET Core Web API. So click on Next. And now the name here I'm going to give is Server API. And let's click on Next to get it created. That .NET 7.0 for the framework. And I create it. When we are done with this, we're also going to create a MAUI app. So there's a MAUI hybrid. and right click on the solution and now click on add new project. And now with this project, we're going to name it as MAUI Hybrid. So click this. Now you can just search for MAUI or Blazor. You're going to have that. So that's the MAUI. There's a hybrid app. So click on next. And now here, this MAUI Hybrid. And now click on create. So you make sure the frameworks are the same. Okay, 7 over here, 7 over here as well. Now for these two projects, to be able to share one data or one library or one model, we have to create a library so we can add it. The library serves as the mediator between them, so they can share. So everything that you want to share between the two projects, you put at the library. Okay, so let's do that. So solution, and let's click on new project, and now you're going to choose a C# library. So let's add the C# class, or you can even search for, you can click this, and now you're going to have library. So you can see there's a library, and you can choose the C#. You see we have C# over here, and the class library, that's what we need. So click on next, and this is library or shared library. Okay, so that's the name. You can give it to any name that you want. Okay, let's get it created. So we have 3 projects created, 1 library, 1 server, and now 1 app. So let's clean the default one here. And now this is what we're going to do. Let's add the library to each of the projects. So click on dependencies of each, click on add project references, and now you make sure you choose the shared library. So shared library. Click on OK. Then right click on the same server to dependencies, and now right click on add project reference. Click on the shared library. Now click on OK. So you've shared this library among these 2 guys here. All right, so that is it. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to first concentrate on the server and work on the server first. Okay, then we talk about the MAUI app by getting the secured connection and etc. and getting the authentication of the token as soon as you register. So let's get to do that. But first of all, what we're going to do here is we're going to install some NuGet packages so we can run this and see. So for the server, right click on the server, and I'm going to install these packages. We only install identity model.token.jwt, also identity model.tokens, and now authentication.jwt bearer. So that's what we need to install, and we're going to use SQLite, EF Core, and also EF Core.design so we can add migration to it. So solution explorer. Now you can see from the server API, just right click, and I'm going to click on unload project. So save this. Okay, and I'm going to also unload this hybrid project. So I also unload this project. So I'm going to save that. All right, so you can see we have 2 projects unloaded. Now with the server API, you can see we have this item groups over here, and these are the packages. So these are the ones that we need to install for this API to work. So I'm going to copy this and I'll paste them here. So you can just pause the video and try to install all of them here. There are 6 packages that we need to install for the server. And also, let's save that. And when you check the MAUI Hybrid 2, we have 2 packages that we need to install as well. So come to the item group, and now in here, let's try to install these packages to it. So we need to install a component authorization and also Microsoft extension .http, so we can have access to the post async, get async, and now the etc. Right. So let's do that. So save this. Now let's load the project. So you can also install these 2 components or packages as well. So right click on this and now reload project with dependencies. Also right click on the server 2 and reload project with dependencies, and it's going to install these packages to it automatically as soon as it reloads. All right, so now we have this. We can just check the dependencies and manage NuGet packages, dependencies also, and now manage NuGet packages. And now all these packages are going to be installed over here. So let's see, this for the API, and now I'll click on this. Let's see for the MAUI app. All right, so you can see we have them installed. You can see they are installed over here, and I want to check this for the API. Now let's see for the MAUI. So this is for the MAUI, and let's see if the packages have also installed, then we can build the project and move on. All right, so you can see they are installed over here. So everything is set. What we're going to do here is let's now build a project to see if everything is working as expected. So solution, and now I'll click on the solution. All right, so click on build solution. So let's wait for the output to be done, and let's see if it succeeds, then we can now move on peacefully. So it looks like it is succeeded. So what we're going to do here is, after making this succeed, we are going to create a model. So we do that in the shared project. Okay, so right click on it, let's create a folder, and I'll name it as models. Now within this folder, let's create one class as registration, and also create one class for login, and also user role, and that'll be also 3 models. That's what you're going to be using. So for registration, we can have registration class. Okay, so that's a registration class. Then let's create a login model or login class as well. So the same solution, right click on models, and now let's click on add new class, and it's for login. So within this class, you're gonna have username and now password. Okay, now let's also create user roles. That is what you're going to be using to assign role to user. Okay, and you create that table, a table in it, and now save the role to it. So we do that by creating user role. So let's create a class for user role. Right click on this, and I believe with this user role and this token info has to be provided to only the server. So the server has to work with that. So let's skip this because here it is for shared. And now what you're going to create here, it is not for shared. So right click on this server. Let's create. And this here is going to be for, let's say, data. Okay. Now within the data, let's create the class here. And this class for user role. So user role, these are the properties that you want to have: username and user role or role name and user ID. Okay. Since you're going to install into database, we need to have this ID here. Let's click this. And now let's create one class as well, so we can save the token in there. So let's create it. This is going to be for token info. So when token is generated, then we save it to the database, because you want to keep track of the token for each of our clients. All right, so these are the models that we need for now within the server, and that's what I'm going to use to generate our token, or the JWT token. All right, so we have this set. Let's save all, and now let's clear from the tabs. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we are going to create a connection string, and connection string, I'm going to do that in the app setting.json. So let's go to solution, app setting.json. And now on top here, we can put it here. So this is job portal DB, and you're not going to do that. So we're going to say token, not token DB. Let's say my DB. All right. So my DB. So that's my database DB. All right. So you can give it any name that you want. Okay. All right. So let's see. We have this to our database. And now let's create our JWT settings, and that is what you're going to be using for this, for the token generation. So I put comma over there so I can have access to the next line, and I can see, so there is a section name, okay, and these are the section keys and their values. So this is a key, this is a value. So we have the issuer, we have the audience, and now in this case we are using the same one. So let's say the issuer, it is this API. All right, and because we have the audience is one who's going to receive it. But in this case, since we're going to make a post to the same thing, we can actually use the same name over here. And let's say to have access to this port, unless we run this project. Okay, so when we run this project, we copy this port and I will place it over here. All right, so or even when you go to properties, line settings, you can see we have it over here, and now the port here is 7242. So we can just grab it from this. Now let's go in there and replace it here. Okay, so this is set. Let's create a class or a session, that's a service for this registration, so the login. So we're going to do that inside this data folder, and we're going to create a user service in there. So we go to the data folder. Here, let's create a folder here, and this folder is going to be user services. So for this user services, we are going to have one interface, and we're going to make it as client service. So iClient service. So let's add a class, and there's going to be an interface. I'm going to say iClient service, and let's also create the same class for the implementation, and this is going to be client service. Okay, so for this, the interface, we want to have access to registration and login. Okay, but before that, what we're going to do here is we have to create a response, service response. So this must be public. We want to talk about the interface. That's right. And let's make this public as well. All right, now let's create this registration or this service response. So that's going to return a service response here. So we do that from, this is going to be shared, right? So let's put it under our models, a class, and I will name this as service response. Now within this service response, you want to have access to a flag, a message, and now token. So flag, message, and now token. Let's make this as public. Okay, so that is set. Now when you go back to the interface, because we have two methods, control period, that's a control plus dot. Let's include this. Registration, there's no registration model, rather it is registration. So we include them, and that's all. Let's go to the client service, and then here it's going to inherit from this. Okay, so that's the interface. And now from this interface, we have two methods in there. All right, so within these two methods, the first one is a registration, but before that, we have to create constructor and inject AppDB context class. But we haven't created the AppDB context class yet. So let's do that. Let's create that in the data folder, and that's what we're going to use. Okay, so we have two data folder here. Okay, so this is the hybrid one. Okay, we're talking about the API. All right, so you do that from this side, and then create a class. The name is AppDB contest, and now within AppDB contest, you want to have access to, let me just copy this so we can do that here. So you're going to remove job, because you're not doing this for job. And we have token info, user roles, and a registration. And there's a class that is inheriting from the DB context class. So we have to remove this. Okay. So this is a model name, and that's the database table name. It's going to use these model names over here to create the table columns or the table fields. That's the right one. Okay. So now let's get going. Let's go back to the AppDB context class. No, that is what we have here. So that is the client service. Now, the client service, what we're doing here is we could see we are injecting the AppDB context, and that's for the database connection. Then AppDB context class, control period. So the same, we should add reference. Let's see. This is the server, right? And now, okay, so see where we are creating the service. Oh, we made a mistake, right? So what we're going to do here is we have to move this service to the data folder here. All right, so make the change. So here it is no more this reference. Let's see. So when you open this, so instead of this, it is from the server. So this is the server API dot data dot services. Okay, so that is it. Now let's copy this namespace too, and I will go back to the interface. Now we do same here. Okay, I think that is solved now. Okay, so now when we go to the client service, and now you can see the AppDB context, it is working well. Now the configuration interface that we inject here, it is to enable us to have access to the sections in the app.json. This. Okay, so we have this method. Now let's implement them one after the other. So the first one is we're going to have the registration. So for the registration, let's see, we're going to have access to one method for registration. Let me make it. Okay. So you can see from the registration, this is what we are doing. We are calling this registration or register user async. We pass in this registration model. Okay. Aside from that, we create a user role here, and we check if admin already exists. If it starts with the email starts with admin. Okay. If the incoming or the payload coming in starts with admin, it means it has the admin potential. Now let's check the database and see if admin already exists. If it doesn't exist, then create admin. A system is going to create admin once for the whole application. Okay, so we're going to check if the role name over there is equal to this admin. Remember that we are checking from the user roles table. If it exists, return a flag. But if it doesn't exist, then assign the role name as admin since the email starts with admin. Then here we are going to check if that email is already in the system. So we want to make the email to be unique, and that's what we do here. So we check from the database and see if it is found, then we say it's already registered. But in case it is not found, call this method to encrypt the password. And now save the database, add it to the database, return the identity over here, and now so we can have access to the user role table. So we save the table or save the name, email, password, and phone number to the user table. Okay. Then we append this.entity to return the result. Now when we return the result, we can now have the user ID, which has been set and generated now from the database, and we have the user details as well. So we assign the user role ID to this ID coming in, and we assign the user role here to user. That is when the user role it is null. You know here, in case it doesn't start with admin, the user role field is going to be null. So in case it is null, then down here we assign it to the user, because if it is not an admin, then it is user. You can have any other use case that you want to use, but for now we are using just admin and user as our rows in a database. Okay, then we save the table to the user row. Then we return at account created. So now let's hash the password. Let's encrypt the password. So we use this method to encrypt the password. Okay, so we create 16 bytes over here. Then we encrypt it using this SHA-1. Okay, then we have to return it to base64 string and return as a password, as a hash password. So for the login, let's also have access to the login. So when the payload comes in, what we're going to do here is we have to also encrypt the current password, and I'll get the data from the database and compare both passwords and see if they match. So let me remove one here and put it down there. Okay, so this is what we are doing as well. We also check from the database. If in case it is not found, we return user not found. In case it is found, then we verify the password from the database password and the current password coming in. Then, so this is the current password from this model, and this is the database password. Okay, from the stored into the database. Then we get the person's row. In case it is not false, we're going to return true if the password matches. Okay, so if the password match, then we're going to return true, and if true, then get the user row from the user rows table, from where the ID is equal to the ID in the database table. Then we get the user row. Then when we have the row, we can now have access to the username, email, and the row name. Then we can now call a generate token method to generate the token for us by using this as a claims. Then we check from the token info that if the user already has a token there, we move it and now assign the token to the current one, or assign the current token to the already token saved over there. But in case it is not there, it is a first time registration or first time login, then save it. So this is what we're going to do. Anytime the user tries to log in, we're not going to get the old token. We're going to generate a new token. And now when you generate it from the token info, you have to update the old one, isn't it? If it's a new one, you have to also install, or you have to save the new one. That's what we are doing. So let's verify the password. This password must return true. So what we did, we have to also decrypt the password or encrypt this password and compare if they look the same. And that's what we are doing here. So you can see we encrypt it. You see we are converting from base64 string. Remember that the password is in base64 string from the one in database. So we have to reconvert it from base64 string, create a sort, and now we have to copy and then get the actual password, loop to the password and see if they match. If they match, then we return true. But if case they do not, return false. And now here we are saying this is going to execute if only it is true. You see, if it is true from this login, if the password is true. Now, if everything works, let's generate the token. So to generate the token, we have to call this method to generate the token for us. So here, generate token, and this is a method to generate the token. So you can see we are accepting the name, email, and row name, which was passed in from this name, email, and row name. And you can see we get the key from the section, from the app settings, the JSON. We use the credentials to have, which is using this algorithm. Also, we create our claims, user name, email, and row. We assign it to the ones coming in here. Then we generate the token over here. The expiring date is 1 day. So aside from 1 day, when 1 day passes, the token has expired and the user has to re-log in to have access to a new token. All right. So that's what we have now. Okay, for the login, and this is what our service needs to be implemented, so we can have access to the token generated and etc. Okay, so now we have this. Let's save that. Let's perform, or let's register the service in the program.cs file, and also register our database connection service class as well. Okay, so for the service, let's go to program.cs file, and now before the build, let's add database context class. We add the appdb context, and now here we are getting the connection string name as default connection from this place. Default connection from the app setting.json. Remember that the name that we used was default connection, And also for the JWT Authentication, we have to also add this program down there. Let's also add this for the authentication. Okay, so you validate the issuer, validate the audience. We can also set this to false, and when it's set to false, it is open to public, so any API or any IP address can have access to it. Okay, then let's also create a DI, that's the dependency injection between the interface and the implementation class. And aside from that, in order for this to, for our Swagger to have access to the authorized keys and also the authorized features, we have to configure the Swagger. So you can see from the default, it has been added here. Let's specify some few service or parameters within. So we're going to do that down here. And this is what we have to do. So let me just grab it from here. And now down here, before the build, take note, we have to paste it here. And that is this one. Okay, so this is what we have to do here. So you can see we pass in this Swagger, we pass in these options, and we want to notify the Swagger that you want. We're going to add a security definition to it. As you can see, there's a security requirement. So we're going to use the bearer for JWT. The scheme here that we're going to use is a this is a bearer for the scheme, and then the bearer format is JWT. Okay, this is a description on top of this Swagger. Okay, so we have this set, and we can now save this. What we need to do here is let's build application, and if everything works, then we add migration instead. So but before that, I think we have to create our controller too and finish it quick. Okay, so before we do that, controller, we have weather forecast, and this weather forecast, let's change this to account. So account controller, and inside this account controller, you want first have to create constructor and inject our client service. So everything going to be cleared off. Create the constructor and inject our client service, the interface. So control period. Aside from that, let's have a registration and our login. So only two methods here. So for register, you can see we allow anonymous, so meaning that everybody can have access to this. And this is our payload coming in, so you need to provide a registration model, and you're going to return okay with the result, and we're going to call the service from this interface as a register async, passing the model. We do same thing to the login, and this login going to return a token, and also there's a token. When we check our client service, you can see from here that it is returning. You can see here it has to return a token, right? So you can see from here it is returning a service response flag as true, and then the token is equal to this token. Now this token is the one which has been generated over here when we call the generate token here, and now this is the method that is generating the token. So after, you can see it is returning a string, and now this string is assigned to this token over here, token string. So they're going to return after you log in. Okay, now once you have that, let's build this solution, or you can even build this project only, or you can just build everyone. So we have some few errors here. Let's see the first one, and here we have our client service. All right, so this is not what we have. So client service from, okay, so you have to clear this from this one, that's from this hybrid, and let's minimize this. Okay, yeah, so we have a server, I think it's solved now. Let's do it again. All right, so now this has succeeded. This is what we're going to do. We have to perform database migration. So click on Package Manager console. You can just go to Tools, Manage NuGet Packages, and then the console is over here. So in here, let's set the server as a startup project. So this is the server. I click on the server and I'll set to startup project. Now come back to the console, and you can see, let's change this to the API. Okay, so let's see. So let's clear screen, CLS, and you're gonna say database or .NET EF migrations. Add first, so that's the name that I'm using. And now let's click on enter. So this is going to build this project, and let's see. All right, so no project selected. Let's see. So ls, let's copy the server project. Now cd, then paste the project. So ls, we see we are inside the project now, so we can now build the migration. Okay, so you can see now succeeded. So this is what we're going to do. .NET EF database, then update the name that we use for the migration file. So that is the first. Let's update it. Alright, so you can see that it has been created or built. Migration has been performed successfully. Now what we're going to do here is, let's run this application and see what we have now. Oh, that's right. So you can see that it is ready here. And this is the attribute that the feature that we specified in the program by overriding or passing some attribute to the Swagger gen. So we can have access to the token over here by passing the bearer and also add the token. This is the instruction that we specified. Okay. Now you can see from here that there is an account. Okay. So with this account, we don't even need this here, because we have to create a controller, so we can restrict that. For now, this account is the attribute that is specified is allow anonymous. So without even authentication, you can have access to this controller. Okay. Now let's see. So try this out. We're going to create a new account. So the email is going to be, you have an email here. So let's specify it as user@gmail.com. Let's maintain the password. So click on execute, and now let's see if it's going to make success. Okay, so you can see we have account created. Let's also create one for admin. So when you create this admin, and now click on execute, also success. Now let's click on it again. So execute, and you can see since it's already found, so admin already exists. All right. Okay, so our API is working. Now let's log in and see. So we're first going to log in with the admin. So let's grab this admin. Let's see if we're going to have access to the token. So let's paste the email here, and now execute. Okay, so you have a token over here. So this is our token, and this token contains the claims, our row as admin, the name, and also the row name, the email, and now the name. Okay, now what we're going to do here is you're going to have to work on the client, so we can consume this API in when we want to register. So let's quickly close this, and now let's work on. So let's clear everything from here, and we go to Solution Explorer, so we can now minimize or hide the API server because we are done. Now from this hybrid app, let's make this as a startup. So set as a startup over here. Okay, now let's try to create a component. So you can see we have component over here, that's a counter. So this counter, let's make it as login. Okay, so for this login, we're going to use a login form, a simple login form from this. Let's paste this. Okay, so let me just, good. All right, so we have this simple login form, and it requires this login module. So let's include it. Let's see if from the shared project it is login. So we can have access to it as login. Let's save this. Let's close this. And let's change the name to login component. Okay. So when you open it again, let's say if you're gonna have access to this control period. All right, so let's close this and now let's work on the registration as well. So we come back to that. Let's wait for some time to get it refreshed. Okay, so in here too, let's make that register component. And for the registration, we also want to have a simple form for the registration as well. So as we change the route to register, so this one is register, and from here, let's change everything. Okay, so everything, we change it from this, then we paste this. So that's an edit form. Like we say, this has a name, email, password, and now confirm password. So this means that we have to create a registration model. So let me create this as registration model. Okay, so this registration model, what we are going to do here is we go to the solution. Okay, and now inside this app, let's say within the data folder, let's create one class and I'll name it as registration model. Now let's come back to the models and our registration. So the ones that we have here, let's grab them. Let's go to the model. This must be public. And in here, let's paste this. Now let's copy one here. Then, okay, we can just make that confirm password. Okay, so that is what you want to do from this. But in order for us to have access to these features, maybe I'd like to change these so we can have access to the required attribute on top. So this is what we are using because we have a confirm password, email, phone, name, and now the ID, right? Okay, so now we have this set. So let's go back to the register component and control period. We can just include the namespace or the using of this. Let's close this as well. So let's use that's the reference. And also when you go back to this login component, let's also say, so login, control period, let's also include the reference as well. Okay. So we have all sets here. And let's go to the navigation. So when we go to this pages, because we have shared pages, and within that shared, we have the nav over here. So we have this counter. Now let's change this to login, and now the fetch data as register. Okay, now the routes here, that is the register, and we change this to login. Okay, so let's save this, and now let's run and see if this is working. So let's choose the window app first. Okay, so we can run and test. All right, so we have an error here, the handle login. We did not specify that, so private async handle login. Let's grab this quick. And this private async task handle login. So let's grab the same. From this, we go to the registration component, and now down here, we paste this and we change it to handle register. So paste this. Now let's run this. So I believe this is solved. Let's run this. So all right, now you can see it is now launched. Then you can see we have a login, we have a register as well over here. As soon as I click on register, you see we have these errors. These are the validation errors that we have. You can see we also have them over here also. So for the login, we did not specify that. So quickly, we can do that from the login by specifying the required attribute on top for this to also work. Okay, so when we go to the login, we can just specify some attribute on top to make them validate. So we don't send empty model. All right, so in here we can just paste it. So we have the required attribute and an email address on top. Okay, so this is working as expected. Now what we're going to do here is, if I click on register, what am I going to do? So that's what we're going to have a look today. Okay, that's the next one, not today, the next one. Okay, now let's see from the login. This is the method over here. So handle login. If I click on this button, submit, this is for login. Okay, so what am I going to do if I click on login? But first of all, before we're going to handle this, let's create some models here. Okay, now what are these models for? First of all, we're going to create our authentication, customer authentication state provider, which is going to inherit from the authentication state provider. We're also going to create our user session, and that's what we're going to use to store the token to the client or the secure storage on the device. So let's see, we go to the solution, and now here, maybe you can create a folder inside this data, or you can create this folder to this project, and I'll name it as authentication. So let's stop this. And now let's name this as authentication. So inside this authentication, we're going to create a custom authentication state provider. Okay, so let's do that. And this custom authentication state provider is going to check if the user is authenticated. If not, then it's going to refresh and hide or show some features that we set for only authenticated users. And it's a work of this authentication state provider to do that. Okay, so first of all, this is what we're going to do. This is going to be a public class, so we make this as public, and this has to inherit from this authentication state provider. So it has to inherit from this authentication state provider, and in that we have to create one method in. So there's an inbuilt method known as get authentication state provider, and now here we are creating this claims principal here as anonymous. So that's a new one with no identity. And now you can see here we get the data from the local storage, not the local storage, that's session storage. Okay, now the session storage, this is like a dictionary, the key and then the value. The key, it is a user session. So we can store string in the user session or string in the secure storage, and now assign key, the user session, as a key to it. Anytime we get the key, we can have access to the key's value. So we have it, and now here we are checking if it is not null. If it is not null, then we come to this, the next one. But if it is null, we're going to return anonymous. It means there's no token found, meaning the user is not authenticated. But in case it is found, then we are going to deserialize it. Okay, you know, the reason why we deserialize it here is, in the login aspect, we are going to serialize it. The reason why we serialize it is, in the secure storage, we can't store object. It has to be in a string, a key and the value. So when you serialize it, you're going to form a string where we're going to have the value and the key. So anytime we get it from the secure storage, we have to also deserialize it so we can have it as an object. So that's why we are using this user session object to deserialize it. Control period, we have to create this user session model. And aside from that, we create a new principal. As soon as we deserialize it, you're going to have access to this name, email, and the user role. We assign it to the claim. and I return this. Okay, that's what we are doing. Okay, so let's create the user session from here. We add it to the same folder. So right click, add a new class. Oh, so that's going to be just a user session from here. Let me just so clear everything and then paste this user session. Now within this user session, you want to have the username, user role, email, and now the token generated for the user. Okay, so that's what we are doing. Now when we go back to the custom auth provider, we get it over here and we return. So this is going to get the data from the secure storage, assign it to the claims principal, and I refresh the page. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now let's say in case anytime when we sign in, you want to store the token to or inside the secure storage. Here we are just making a get. So let's input it over there. Okay, so to make an input or to save it to local storage, we have to create one method, and that's the update. So let's update it. As soon as user tries to log out or log in, the update is going to handle that. So the update, it is accepting the user session. Okay, this user session here, it is not encrypted, but you see from here, we have to serialize it again. Then we can set it to the claims as we set over here, and we have to set, so we serialize the object and we store into the secure storage. So here you're making a set and here you're making a get. Okay, so when you log in for the first time, you're making a set here, and as soon as you log in, this method is going to rise up. You're going to get it from the secure storage that you set, and now refresh the page. And now when you log in already and now coming back again, when you check and the token is found there, then it's going to base on the first one and also refresh the page. Now you have your token over there. Okay, so in case this is null, then it means we want to remove. So anytime that you call this method and pass in null, it means you want to remove the token. This is going to happen when the user tries to sign up. No, sign out. Now when we sign out, we have to remove it and refresh the whole page, and that is what we are using. Notify authentication state change. Okay, we return new this authentication state, we passing this principal. So this principal here, defaultly it is set to new one. It means it's going to clear all the types. That's the anonymous, and you are not authenticated anymore. Okay, so this is what we have. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is, while we have this auth state provider, is we have to register this in the program.cs, or as a MAUI program.cs before you forget it. So MAUI program.cs, let's do that quickly. Solution, MAUI program.cs, then builder.service, let's add this. Okay, so authentication state provider, and you provide our auth state provider. Let's include this, and let's include the reference for this custom one. Okay, so now we are done with this. How do we set it, or how do you get the data from the login? So let's go to the login over here, and now from this login, we're going to handle this. So let me just grab this. So from this login component, okay, as soon as I click on login, I have to post this email and password to the API. And now you can see we are making a post. So we have to inject HTTP client on top. And navigation manager as well, I think so. So let's first add the HTTP client on top here, inject it on top. And we also need our auth state provider class as well. So Let's inject them here. So we inject authentication state provider, and now with this control period, it's going to come from this namespace. Let's include that. All right, so when we count down here, we have post JSON async. It has to come from system.net.http here. Now the controller name is account, and now you pass in this. This is the login. Okay, so this is the radar you pass in. Now here we can just skip this, and this is localhost. So this https/ I think localhost, and now the port is 7424. I think so. Okay, slash. Then we have our account over here. Now let's start the API and see. So, or even when you go to the API, go to line settings, you're going to find it over here. So let's grab this. And now let's go back to the login, and now let's paste it. Okay, so the controller name is account, and now the method name is login. So when you check here, controller account, this is a controller account controller, and the method here it is what, login. So we are calling this method. Now let's go back to the login. So as soon as you call this method, we call this method. So that is, you're going to read from the results coming in, and if it is true, meaning if everything works, what we're going to do here is we're going to get user claims. So meaning that we have to decrypt the token so we can have access to the claims. Okay, so to decrypt the token, we have to create a class or a method which will decrypt the token, and now fish out or get all the claims from the user, and now return in a form of object. So if it works, then custom authentication state, the class that we created, we want to update the method found within, and that's an update authentication state. We pass in the object coming in. Remember that when you come here, this is a class that we are calling. We pass in this object, and now when it comes in here, you can see we're going to assign each of the username, our email, and row to the claim type here. And let's see. So that's what we are doing here. And now this is just to display the token. So we can just hide this, or let's leave that. After that, navigate to home page. Okay, navigate to home page, and I'm going to make it a false load because it has to, after assigning, it has to notify the authentication state. As soon as they change states or the state changes, it has to refresh itself. So we help by refreshing it over here. That's why we false reload. And now replace we set to true, so we can't go back again to the login, because when you log in, you don't have to go back to login again. So we have to move forward, and that's why we go to the home page. Okay, then we clear the content here. But in case something goes wrong, then display the results to the user. So what from this method is a simple method to decrypt the token. So let's have that method here. And the output of this method, it is returning a user session. So you can see, let's return a user session. So it is returning a user session, and you can see we are decrypting the token. Then we are getting only the claims. Then we assign, or we get all the claims type. So control period. Let's include the namespace for this. It's coming from identity model. So let's say if, we did not install that. Let's check it again. It seems it's not found yet. It seems like we did not install that. So let's comment this, Control C. Then let's save all. So clear all tabs, save any. And now let's go to solution. So from the MAUI app, right click, and then let's unload the project. So save. Okay, so let's try to navigate to the properties. No, that's the project settings. And now down here, let's include that's the system.identitymodel.token.jwt. So let's now reload the project with dependencies. So the package can get installed. Okay, so when you go back, or when you go to manage to get packages, it has to get installed there. Now let's go back to the login. And now let's say if this control KU, so control K, let's say as soon as it is installed, you're going to have the reference of this. Okay, so let's check dependencies. Alright, so it is installed over here, and that is this. So we are good to go. Now let's check back again. And now here, control period, let's see. Let's save this, close it. Let's close this too. And now let's open it again. So now let's see control period. So let's include the namespace ourselves. So let's do it manually. Okay, so we need to use system.identitymodels.tokens.jwt, and it is solved now. Okay, so that is what we need to do for the login. Now let's go to the registration as well, and I'll complete that too. So for the registration, we have to call the service. So that's the post. So register. And now when handle register is clicked, you can see we post to this, and that is an HTTPS. So let's go to the login, and now let's grab the HTTPS and let's paste it here. Okay, so you have to clear this. Now you post it to the account and register. So that is going to be the route. So when we check the controller, so the server controller, account controller, you see from the register, the route here it is for register, and here it is login. So that's what we are doing here. And read the content, and if it is true, you want to display this to the user, and navigate to the home page, clear the content or the object, and in case there's any error, to display to the user. So that's what we want to do. Now the next thing to do here is we have to surround this, surround the components, okay, the views or whatever thing that you want to do with the authorized route view. So let's do that. But first of all, before we do that, we have to check the main.razor. Here there's a route, so with that route we have to change it. So let's surround it with authentication state provider. And not authentication state provider, rather I'm going to surround it with cascading authentication states. Okay, so this. Now in case it is authorizing, we can just say please wait. So 1, 2, 3, please wait. Yes. So you see we have this authorized route view. And now you see we have it. If it is not authorized, tell you this and authorized. In case you're authorizing, then please wait. Okay, that's what you want to do here. And now let's go to this and Nav menu. So for this Nav menu, let's have another method here. So let's grab this. For example, you grab this 2. Okay, or you can grab even this 3 here. And let's paste them. Now the first one, let's decorate it with authorize So this authorize view, and instead of this long one, we can just remove this. So control period, let's include that. So authorize view, and within the authorized view, here we can have access to the rows. So let's say this is only admin, and now this admin, we have the authorize. Let's pass in this. So in case you're admin and you're authorized, you're going to see this, and that is manage user. In case you're also user, and as soon as you're authenticated, you're going to see logout. And this is also going to come as a result of authorize. So this authorize. So as soon as you're authorized, no matter who you are, either admin or any user, you're going to have this logout. Okay. And now here, if you are user only, your row is user only, you're going to see this. So rows, yeah, not authorized rad view, rather is authorized view. And you're going to see this is a row here as user. Okay, so if it is authorized, if you are authorized as user, you're going to see this. Okay, so you're going to see this one. That's for only user. So update profile. Okay, update profile. And now if you are not authorized, so if you are not authorized, if you are authorized, you're going to see this. That's for the user. But in case you are not authorized, what are you going to do? So authorize view, and you're going to have not authorized. So if you're not authorized, then display the first one here as register, and display second one as login. So you're going to have this login or register. Okay, then this is linked to login, and this is also linked to what? Register. Okay, so here this update profile, and now this is logout. So with this logout, what are you going to do? It means anytime that you click on this logout, we want to call the authentication state provider. We want to alert it so you can remove the user session from the local storage. So let's see with the logout, let's append a click event to it. So with this, let's have href JavaScript, and now here it is void. Okay, let's see. I remember what we can do from here. Or we want to just, or we can even just remove this, and we can just apply style and set cursor. So cursor, they're going to say pointer. That is one on desktop. Okay, so here let's apply at on click, then we say logout async. So logout async, and now let's specify the method here. So that's the logout async, and when you click on the logout, you can see we are calling this update authentication state provider from the custom auth state. Then you pass in new user session, that is now. Okay, so when you pass in new, you have to also add the namespaces. So let's first inject the authentication state. Alright, so put it on top here, and we also have to add the ASP.NET Core authorization, and it's still even over here. Okay, so control period, let's see. So let's include the namespace ourselves, and yeah, that is solved. Okay, so it seems like we are done. Let's run this application and see what we have now. Oh, okay, so we have this error. Let's check it out. So from here we are saying that there's no service for this. Alright, so let's close that and try to check out the service and register all the services. So let's navigate to the MAUI program.cs, and in there I think we have to add this authorization core. So let's see, solution, then we go to the MAUI program, and in here let's add authorization core. So control period, I think. Alright, so set now. Now let's run it again and see. Oh, okay, so we did not change the name. You can see login register. Now let's set it up from the main layout. So that is the Nav menu. So this is the Nav menu. Then this for the authorize. Here we need an authorize. Okay, so we have to clear this. We don't want this, so we have to clear this from it. So we have the admin row, we have the authorize. As soon as you authorize, you can have access to this, and this for the user row, and we have not authorized. Okay, so even within that there's an authorized, so there's an admin, so there's an authorized logout, and let's specify this not authorized. So let's cut this here, and we can put it into the, so let's clear this. And now if you are authorized, see this. If you are not, then see this. Alright, then if you are authorized, maybe we can decide to add a name over here. So we can add a label to this, but let's see where we can add that. We can even add one. So when we have this logout, we can have something like, can we have a name? So there's a nav link. There's a nav link right down here. Maybe you can specify some label here. Okay, or maybe at where we have the header, where we have this, you can just specify something like that. So there's an authorize, and this is going to work when you are authorized. Okay, so if you are authorized, we can have access to, let's say, H6, and you can say hi, then at context dot user dot identity dot name. But in case you are not, then let's also grab the same here. Let's make not authorized, and now instead of this, you're gonna say guest. Let's refresh this and see. Alright, so you can see they are aligned together. Our API is active and our app also is active. So you can see we have hi guest, right? Because you're not authorized. Now, as soon as I click on login, we have an error here. Let's check up and see where this error is coming from. So for this console, HTTP client, so there's no service for this HTTP client. So okay, so this is what we have to do. Alright, so to solve this, let's go to the main program.cs, and in here let's add the HTTP client service. So let's add that and let's run this again. Alright, so you can see that we have hi guest and we have login and I register. So let's try to log in. We have an account already. So let's use user email and now let's the password is string. So this is the password that we use for the registration. Now let's click on login and now let's wait to see if we're going to have access to the token from the API. Yeah, that is what we have here. You can see we have that and we have this update profile. So now you click on OK, you see we have it has updated and we have this logout and we have this update profile, right? And we have this logout. So now you click on logout, see what happens. Logout and you can see it has changed to hi guest. Now let's log in as admin and let's see. So admin and the password is still string. So let's log in and you can see it has now changed to manage user because we have hi string, that's the name that we use, and you have logout. Alright, so this is working. Now let's see how, let's try to run this in the Android and see. So to do that, we have to use dev tunnel. Okay, so with the help of the dev tunnel, you can actually have access to the name of that is the URL. So to do that, go to views, then go to other window, and you can see we have dev tunnel here. Click on this dev tunnel. You're going to have a pop-up like this. If you don't have an account in yet, you can click on plus to create a new one. So if you click on this, you're going to have access to provide, you must sign in and you must provide the name and the tunnel type here. Is that temporal or you want to keep it long? And if it's a private or public, you can choose that and click on OK. It's very simple. Okay. When you're done with that, click on OK and it's going to be created. So I have some tunnels over here. So I'm going to choose this. Okay. So to do that, you have to navigate to this API project and now click on this. And you can see we have dev tunnels. So I'm going to use the universal tunnel. All right. Now with this, I have to first run this application. So I will have the link to there. I'm going to copy the link and I use it in place of the HTTPS local host. Now let's wait for this to get loaded to our browser. And instead of this localhost /7242, the port is going to maintain, but local is going to change. Let's wait and see. That's right. So the first time that you run it, you're going to have this and you must continue on. So it is going to route up to the local host or your API that you have. Alright, so that's the API. So with this, what I'm going to do here is let's grab this. Okay, now let's go to the login and the register. And instead of this, you're going to change this to this. Let's clean one. And also change the same to the login. This is all that we need to do. Okay, so let's run this in the Android and see. So we have this and we can stop this. Let's stop this. And with the API, let's choose the project. Let's choose our Android project. And instead of the Windows, we're going to choose the framework of Android. You see? So let's run this. But before that, we'll click on the server and now click on debug. So start with that debugging. And now while this is starting, we can also run the Android application as well. So this, you can see it has started. And now the app will also run. Our Android will also start. So let's wait for this to also start. Then we can log in and see if it works as expected. Alright, so you can see that the app is now ready, and you can see we have hi guest, right? So let's click on this tab, and now let's see we have login and I register. So if I click on login, it has to navigate as a login where we can log in. Now let's provide admin. So at gmail.com, and the password is string. So let's pass in the password as this. Let's click on login. Now let's wait if it will be able to connect to the API and return the token. Yeah, so you can see connection is through, and you can see we have the token. Click on OK, and you're going to change from, you can see that's refresh itself, and that has changed from admin, I guess, to string. When I click on this, we have manage user as an admin, and now we have the dashboard. What is the dashboard? Manage user and then the logout. So click on this logout, and you can see, let's log out. Okay, since it has frozen, let's wait for a while. Okay, so you can see it is not as refreshed, and we have the guest. Let's log in as normal user, and we use Fred at gmail.com. The password is string as well. I think so. Login. Let's see, is not found. So when check the database, we have there's a user at Gmail. Okay, so user at Gmail. Yeah, so this is also working, and you can see it has reloaded. And please wait. So we are authenticating you. So you can see it is now checking by the help of the authentication state manager. That's also authentication state provider. So you can see we have now login and we have log out. So we log it out, and you can see we have hi guest. Alright, so that is it. I'm going to leave this code. I'll be at the GitHub, so you can just go in there and clone it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up so it can reach a lot of people as well.